Aloha and welcome to Talk Story, Maui's longest running talk show. In fact, we are celebrating 30 years. When I say we, I mean I. I'm celebrating with you, and I think I have a very dear friend on the line. Is this Gera?
A very dear friend indeed.
Hi, Gera.
Aloha, Cindy.
Aloha. You are live on Talk Story here on Maui, and you're calling in from New York. What's it looking like in New York today?
It's actually a really beautiful day. I don't know how that happened, but it's actually been a really beautiful day.
Well, I think it's great. You're where are you in New York?
I'm in Staten Island, actually.
Nice.
Out from where my window is, I have a direct view of lower Manhattan, and I've got a big sweeping view from Brooklyn all the way to Queens, basically, and
Wow.
all the way over to Jersey. I can see the Statue of Liberty, and then I
Wow.
can see a lot of New Jersey. So,
Well, it's amazing because it's really so far away. But, you have roots. You used to live in Kauai. So you bounce
Yeah.
back and forth from there. In fact, I don't know anyone that's done what you've done unless they work for an airlines. You literally had a few days off, and you literally flew to Kauai, spent 2 days, and then flew back to New York, right?
well, I had to come back. I felt like I was losing my sanity, which is very easy to do in New York. But I really wanted to come home and just feel, well, not that it's home, but it feels like home once I arrive. It's such a special place,
Yeah.
So, so it helped me out so much, and it was so beautiful and lovely.
Well, for a lot of people who've lived here, it's still their home in spirit, and I totally understand that. And I think I met you at a Grammy party. Well, it was at one of the Grammy events in Los Angeles about, was that 5-6 years ago?
Yeah, about 5-6 years ago. Yeah, we immediately connected.
Yeah, no, I love it because, I love the flute, and you're a fabulous flute player. You have all kinds of flutes, and you're known for that wonder. You've done wonderful flute albums, including Migration, and I just love what you do and your spirit. And
oh, thank you so much. Yeah,
you love the ocean, you love the desert, you love the flute. What is there not to be similar in, right?
Yes, and the flutes that I have are all hand-picked, and they're very special, and they all have their own sound. And it's odd because I had played piano as a child, and when I went over to Hawaii and I found myself there, I had a flute with me that I had just purchased for very cheap, but I had purchased it, and that's what I did, was I would play my flute there. So that was the start.
Did you ever play the nose flute? Did you ever, while you were here, did you ever learn how to play the nose?
I haven't had the experience yet, not yet.
It's a very different sound, and it takes a whole different attitude to blow your flute through your nose. It's a very different thing.
Well, it is by the ocean. You're by the ocean, so
yeah, that's
constant.
right. No, and so it was a great story how we stayed in touch, and I've loved your music, and I asked you to do a song a few years back, and we never got around to publishing it, but. You and we talk a bit, and of course we post on Facebook a lot.
Yeah.
but I mean, I was very concerned. I have now done, this is my 7th CD, and I always kind of try to put a CD out every year. My mother passed away 14 years ago this week on the 5th of September, and I promised her, she said, Cindy, will you please put out all of these poems and music, will you put it out? So every year I have done a project, and I always try to decide what to do. And this last year, there were so many challenges going on with the state of the country, with the climate problems, with people, dying, the illnesses, issues in my life and in many others that I know. I really decided we need hope. I really was concerned when I started seeing the suicide stats of what was going on with suicides in this country. And it's very, very sad and frustrating. So I reached out to you and I said, remember we did that song, we never got it finished, Hope, and you jumped right on board it. And
I jumped right on board with my husband, Tom.
Tom Dubas.
He helped me go into the archives there and retrieve it.
Actually, it was a great story about you and your husband. He actually didn't he propose right on the red carpet at the Grammys or something like that?
Yes, he did. Tom, you're listening.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Tom.
Aloha.
Aloha. So you kind of met through the Grammys connection too, huh?
Well, we kind of did. I mean, well, we met many, many years ago, but we kind of cemented our musical connection and our love connection at the Grammys. So that was really, really great.
Well, years ago you had a great song, and I think, weren't you nominated for a Grammy years ago for a Grammy song, or did you get that?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, I thought you had a song, because I know you have a new CD out, which I've got. We'll play a little later. And
oh, great. Yeah,
and,
I hope you enjoy it. It's a little bit different, but,
yes.
you know.
It's roots rock. In fact, if people haven't seen you probably, but you look a lot like Brian May from Queen. And I'm sure when you go to the Grammys and places, people think you probably are. So they're probably very nice to you.
They do.
People stop him in airports and in department stores, and he says, "I'm not who you think I am." And they say, "That's okay. We want a picture with you anyway."
It's so funny. Well, it probably could be used at some time or another. But anyway, do you have a studio you have in your own? I know, Gera, you work really closely doing music in your... do you have a computer and you use your own tools, or what do you do for recording?
Yeah, we both have. It's funny. We live in an apartment, but we have two separate studios that are kind of interconnected by one walk-in closet, which we converted into a vocal booth.
I totally get that. I've done the same thing in my house. I totally.
Yeah. And everywhere you go, there's an instrument that you'll bump into.
Closets make very
there's
good
a grand
vocal.
piano and a couple pianos and about 50 flutes.
Real 50 flutes? You're kidding me. 50 flutes? 50?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. 50 flutes is a room full of flutes in itself. That's a lot of flutes.
Oh yeah.
Whoa, that's amazing. That's amazing.
But they all get played.
Yeah, they all get played, and they're all different. So
wow, that's amazing.
And they all give Gera a different idea. And, you know, when we were picking out flutes for some of the backups on your album, your most recent, you know, it really takes a while because she's got to get the right one and the one that's going to work perfectly.
And that does take, it's almost like children, but 50 children would be too much to take care of. But I mean, I know the instruments are something that you really do have a connection with, you know.
Yeah.
And I understand that. And it's terrible when I abandon a child. Like, I haven't played my ukulele in a year. It's terrible. But, I mean, you know, I feel guilty. You know, I was like, I'm sorry, I haven't played you in a year. But your instruments are part of you, right? I mean, they carry your energy. They do. They carry your energy and everything. But so it's really amazing how you work together beautifully. And when I reached out to you, you were so kind. And I really wish you could be here. This Saturday, we're having the CD release party for The Gift of Hope and also for Himalayan Sessions. And you were one of the few people.
Fabulous.
I sent that to you as soon as I got it. You didn't hear the final mix after we did it. But, no, it's been mixed and mastered by Christopher Hedge, and he's flying out for it. You'd love him. He's worked with Neil Young and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and he does a lot of things with San Francisco Performing Arts Centers, and he's brilliant as a mix master guy. So he's coming out. He did the work on that one, and as well as, of course, Keola Beamer, who I don't know. You used to live in Hawaii. Did you remember hearing of Keola Beamer when you were living here, Gera?
No, I never had the pleasure.
He's amazing. You know, he goes back to the 13th century, his roots, Kamehameha in the 13th century.
Wow.
And quite an amazing man. He was asked by Paul Simon to get on stage and play with them for the 2 nights he was here. So that's the kind of guy he is. And he's so humble. Humble. I mean, so he's going to be there. I'll be there talking story a little, and we're going to show a film on the Dalai Lama. I told you, Gera, I originally was going to do it in New York. There's a beautiful place in New York called Tibet House.
Yes.
And I still may try to get out there, but this one, you know, with Keola and the roots here on Maui, we wanted to do it here. So it's this Saturday at the Makawai'u
I wish I was
Church.
coming.
I know. I wish you were too. I would love to have you here. So this one is really a special one. And you actually did not just hope, which I'll play here in a second, but it was funny because we were talking on the phone. And sometimes that's hard because 6-hour times difference and everything. But we were talking about your background in Kauai and everything. and how you had this connection to a mountain and everything. And
Yes.
and just as you were talking, I literally was taking notes as you were speaking about the memory. And from that came the composition that we also included on here called I Talk to the Mountain, which you then went ahead and have your music on as well as speaking it.
Right.
And it's very much part of, it carries that energy, that kind of mystic energy on the mana of Hawaii, because I could tell you were kind of channeling your memories of that special moment when you did that, and your deep roots going back to Kauai as well. But I'm going to play Hope right now, and we can listen. I don't know if I'll play the whole thing, but let me play some of it right now.
Yeah.
Hold your heart open to hope, for it is the spark that lights the fire to bring creation's magic forth, to create your true desire. When hope walks into your life and gives the ability to bring you to your dreams and make them a reality. Hope is a ray, the heart of the sun that shines on the darkest day. Hope reaches up to the heavens, awakens you to a new life you made. Hope allows you to see you hold the secret key, gives you a way to try, brings a power you can't deny. We need hope. We need hope. We need hope. We need hope.
And I just wanted to talk about this because I've never really spoken to you about the breakdown. Are you on guitar on this, Tom?
No, that would be that's John Birchie, who actually mixed and mastered the song as well. He's super talented, and we've worked with him many times. He plays with us live. He's also a composer and just a super talented, all-around great guy.
Yeah.
It's
and
a really-
super guitarist.
It's
No
really
doubt.
nice. Now, is there flute? Is there?
Yeah, I'm playing keyboards.
Oh, you're on keyboards
and,
on
I program the drums and played bass, and so
What's funny about this is when you listen to it at the end, there's a chorus, and we went to the place where we play a lot, which is a grassroots cafe. Actually, it's a neighborhood place, and we asked our fans, our friends, could you help us out with this song? And we wanted to, we need hope. So they all sang for the chorus, so that's who's on the album.
I love sing-along songs and choruses, and we all need hope, right?
And I had
do.
my friend, who's a wonderful woman with a heart of gold, this big African-American lady, Alfreda, and I asked her to sing on top of the chorus, and she did that, and it was just really sweet venture, the whole thing. Everyone felt uplifted by the end of it.
oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah, no, and it's so interesting because, I write poems. I mean, I've written thousands and thousands of poems, but this one I wrote a few years ago, but a lot of my poems aren't the same as the lyrics because they come as poems. So you were so beautiful in the way you were able to make it into this song. And it really, it's so sweet and it's so hopeful, And that energy is really what's really, really beautiful about it, is it carries a lot of optimism and hope. And I just loved it when I heard it. And we want to thank, of course, we want to thank Oscar Ate, who mastered it as well on this one. You know, it's interesting when you try to do a project every year. You get an idea, and the idea have to be strong enough to survive all the difficulties and challenges you have, because it's never as simple doing a project as you think it's going to be, right?
No, it never is. There's always something, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they're also like children. Each CD is like and is a little bit of work. And, and I have to say, it's always the gift is, because I'm kind of a private person. I meditate and I do my stuff on the radio. Of course, I'm behind the mic a lot, but music draws you out and connects you and magically to other people who have the same energy and vibrations, but can do other parts of it. And you do that so beautifully. There's still there. Well, it's so funny. I sent you something, Gera. I love doing whale watches at least a couple times a year. And on my last whale watch, I sent you. I just took my phone, and they dipped the microphone into the sea and recorded the sound of this whale. Like, I had never heard a whale with this particular sound. Sounded like a baby whale. So I sent it to you, and I said, you know what? This would be an interesting background for a song. So that one's in the wings waiting as well. I mean, I think we still have to do the baby whale song.
We still have to do that. I worked with one of my favorite flute makers here to have a whale flute made that would have the voice of a whale, of a blue whale. And he worked on it about 6 months, and we finally got it done.
A flute that sounds like a blue whale?
Yeah.
Wow, how amazing is that?
Yeah.
That's special.
Yeah, we'll keep talking.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, there's always one more project to do, right?
There's always one more.
Sure.
Keep us going, right?
So this whole project was really beautiful, and I am so grateful to you. And I know you're very active, and I think this year I will go to the Grammys. They're going to be in January this year in Los Angeles, right? So it's kind of interesting how the tribe kind of all meets up, at least tries to meet up at least once a year. And we get together. And I tell you, from those gatherings, I've made some very precious friends, you know, like you and many other people I've had a chance to work with over the years, you know. And I don't think people can understand there's so many supportive, independent people, musicians out there that are willing to give, you know, their help and their support and their work, and I have to say, it gives me hope, right? Don't you find that?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it all seems to be a labor of love, you know, and anytime you're involved with music, you know, you've got to have that element in there, you know.
Yeah.
At least if you're independent, to make it worth your while.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to say, Tom, I know you've been doing it a long time as well, and I've gone, because it's 30 years here on the radio, but I've gone from album playing to CD playing to now it's getting more and more to MP3, and I don't know how we'll do CD release parties when there's just MP3s, but I think it's kind of heading that way.
I don't know. I don't know how much smaller they can get. Like, you know, I did these little USB cards, and I don't really prefer them, but I do have CDs. Of course, I sent you one.
Yes.
But you know, it's very funny. You know, and of course, most of the younger people don't carry anything. Everything is just, you know, streamed. So.
Well, that's the truth, but it's a whole different thing, as you know. I mean, because you've been in the business a long time as I have, and it went from albums, which, you know, I started with many years ago,
of course,
with themes, right? And you know, at least, you know, you'd have 14 tracks typically, right? And it went from that to now people just buying maybe one song, you know, and purchasing one thing. And so that takes the theme out of a lot of CDs, right?
Exactly.
And when that happens, when the theme is gone and people aren't buying the whole thing, it's a whole different feeling. Plus, they're streaming it, and then you get about sometimes 2 pennies or a penny, right?
If you're lucky.
I know. I know.
So what happens now is, with what I decided, with the gift of hope, is I decided, well, you know what? I mean, I'm going to get a penny a play if I'm lucky. You know, it adds up maybe, you know. I mean, there's times I'll get some money back, not a lot. But, you know, you can't be doing this kind of work that we're doing for the money. So that's why I'm giving away everyone that buys a ticket for just $15 to the CD release party. I'm giving them the CD.
Oh,
And well, because it's a gift, and that's what the gift of hope.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is.
And we really have to try to encourage people. I feel like encouraging people not to just do the one song thing, not to just do the singles. And unfortunately, a lot of even people who enter contests now, it's just one song they enter, and so they put all their work into one song, and that's it. But there's so much more you can do when you have a thought and an area where you can do a whole CD, and I'd hate to see that lost. I mean, where you just lose the idea of a whole concept of an album or a CD,
Yeah, I agree.
So things are changing as we get older, and I hope they change for the better, and that's why we need hope.
Yeah,
that's why we need a gift of hope.
That's the truth.
Yeah, I know. And so what are you working on, Tom, and what are you working on, Gera?
Well, we've been working on it for quite some time, and it's a collaboration between Gera and myself called Distant Lands, and we're working with some very talented musicians. Among them is John Birchie, who played guitar on Hope, and also Tony Gagne, who is Bob Dylan's musical director and bass player, and
wonderful bass player.
Right, and also a great percussionist,
Roger Squatero.
Yeah, Roger Squatero.
Yeah.
And it's coming along really great, but we keep getting sidetracked. So people like Cindy Paulos call us up, and no, I'm kidding.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Of course, listen. You have to know how much we love doing this, and how grateful we are to be part of this. I was just going to say part of this record, because it really is the gift of hope. And it's funny, we just listened to it so that we could get ourselves in the mood, and it really is something else. And we know a lot of people that are on it, and it's really great to hear them as well.
Yeah, some real angels like Laura Sullivan, who I love dearly, right? I mean, these are wonderful people who really donate their time and energy, and I just love her. She's been on all my CDs. Martha Rake provided a beautiful version of Over the Rainbow,
you
know?
Very
and
sweet.
Dave Mason came in and recorded a couple of the poems here, and I just heard the new One Little Finger, the soundtrack that Rupam Sarma and Kevin Mackey put out, and they did a beautiful job with Dave when he was just in the studio. This is not a real studio here. When we use this for recording our back announcing for music, it's not like being in a real studio, but he came in and boy, they made it sound wonderful.
Oh,
I mean, really
beautiful.
wonderful. Right. Yeah. So it's really like a family of people I just adore and love. So it's always nice to get that out there. And let's because I'm going to play here in a minute. Let's just talk about this. I love this dive bar dropouts. The new one you put out, Tom. Now this kind of goes back to our rock and roll roots and blues and R&B, kind of, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's basically my roots, and I've been playing in bands since I'm 16 years old, and so that's a real long time, and always like this type of stuff. And this is a 4-piece band, and we decided to do it totally live to 2-track, no overdubs, just as if you would be seeing us, at a show. They wouldn't let me do the intro I wanted to do. I said I wanted to say that, hey, great that all you could come down, and just a typical band intro, but they said that was too cute, and so we wrote a fancy one.
So what would you recommend I play a little bit of? The Future or Life on the Shelf or I Love Watching, or what would you like me to play here?
You could do Love to Watch Her Go. That's got a great
3.
beginning.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We're going to hear a little bit of this together
this
here.
This is me playing blues harp on this also.
Ooh, I love the groove. ZZ Top groove, right?
Yeah.
Love this. Are you on harp?
Yeah, that's me.
Multi-man. He's singing, he's playing.
Are you
keyboard,
playing? Yeah. Oh, I love this.
blowing harp.
She turns in her head when she passes by. She walks into a room, she catches every man's eye. Well, even other women, they turn to take a look. When it comes to looking good, ha, you know my baby, she wrote that book. Well, I ain't no genius, there's one thing I know. I hate to see you leave, but I love to watch you go. When I look into her eyes, she takes my breath away. I thank my lucky stars for her each and every day. Every time she touches me, I just want to melt. You know she gives me feelings I ain't never felt. Now I ain't no genius, there's one thing I know. I hate to see you leave, but I'd love to watch you go.
I love music like this, Tom. I mean, this is like, I grew up with this, right? And
Right.
I mean, I played the blues, and I mean, I love this, seeing this when I go. It reminds me of when I used to go see the Blasters and the Fabulous
yeah.
Thunderbirds, And
Oh, yeah, most popular Thunderbirds.
yeah, no, because I mean, I used to play all that, and I used to have shows with them all the time. And this is like that kind of vibe that makes you. It's great music live, and everyone gets up and dances, and they just love it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you play?
And
Do
they
you
do
play?
this like in one day in the studio, just
Not-
straight through.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So where do you play in the area there?
Oh, we play at various venues on Long Island, in the city, and we just took a hiatus. We finished this, and then we took a hiatus because we had so many other projects. The guitar player in my band is also working on another project. So in our at the end of kind of our careers, we're none of us are really kids anymore.
Yeah, I know that
we
one.
find ourselves busier than ever. So
That's
it's
so
great.
true. It's so true. In fact, Tom Vendetti, who did work on the Himalayan sessions and is showing his movie on the Dalai Lama. He got to interview the Dalai Lama, and I'm so envious.
wow.
And he retired last year, and he has never worked harder. And same with Keola Beamer. And so it's amazing that there's I don't understand anything but trying to do what you want to do, and there's really no end in sight except till you just can't do it anymore, right?
Yeah. Oh,
And-
yeah.
Right.
So- And you should hope that, as you've gotten to this point in life, that you've learned enough where you can share some of it. So, and you do that so beautifully. And I just have to thank you so much, both of you, for your generosity and your love of music and for what you do. And I just adore you. And it was just a real treat to have you on The Gift of Hope and be able to hear your music with you and to have you take the time to call in from New York today. So from the bottom of my heart, a really, really, really big